How's it going, everyone? And in this video, I'm going to be talking about something that's very deep and personal to me, and that is my dad and who he was to me. And the context here is that my dad died very suddenly and unexpectedly 3 years ago. And it came as a shock to me. It changed my world. It changed who I am. It changed how I looked at life. It changed what I think of as home and what I think of as good. And I wanted to make this video to reflect on who I am now because of what's happened. And so we'll get started with that. And so I want to focus on the positive qualities that my dad instilled in me. And I believe they are positive qualities. And we're different people, him and I. And one of the most important things that my dad showed me and gave me the mindset for is that it's okay to fail, and there's never some challenge that's too big or too complicated to take on. And that kind of ambition and curiosity and wonder is something that I'm very grateful for, and that's who I am, and that's something I'm very proud of, to even have the time with my dad for him to show me all those things. And to put that in a concrete example, like an example of this is all the projects we would do in the garage. Like whatever broke, didn't even matter what it was, like we would take it apart, we would look at it, we would try to figure out what was wrong with it and think about why did they design it certain ways, and try to figure out how we could fix it, and look at different material properties like adhesives versus Bondo versus, all these different material properties, and just things that didn't even think about having to think about today. We're having to think about, it's just, and I love that. I love those moments. I miss those moments a lot. I can't tell you how much I wish I still had those opportunities, and that time with my dad again. And so what I do in place of that, and one of the coping mechanisms that I have, is to still do projects like that. My dad got me into working on cars and working on bikes, and it's for me humbling work, in the sense that I think a lot of people can take something apart, and the hard part is putting it back together and fixing it and knowing how to diagnose stuff when it breaks. And that's something that I think only really comes from hands-on work. And that's why I love working on bikes and cars, even though, my formal college education is in chemical engineering and my professional career is in software development and developing systems, system design stuff. It's I'm at peace. I enjoy getting to work on things with my hands and take it apart and really think about stuff. And, classic example of this again was after my dad died, our dishwasher flooded our kitchen, and we needed a new dishwasher. And so I really wanted to fix this and figure out how did it break and what went wrong. And so I'm not a plumber. I didn't know anything about plumbing. And I just took the opportunity to read about dishwashers, from a one who knows nothing about dishwashers perspective. What does a dishwasher need? It needs drainage, it needs water, it needs electricity, and or some kind of heat. You could burn gas if you wanted to create heat, or you could use electricity. So it's but really that's the only inputs into this system. And so just looking at it from that perspective, it's literally just this black box. You've got heat, or energy, water, and drainage for all the stuff that comes off of your dishes. And then there's your output, is clean dishes, and your dirty dishes. But you draw a black box around it, just like a chemical engineer would in a unit flow diagram. And it's and there you go. And so I'm really glad that I have that type of perspective that my dad gave me. Like, I'm so grateful for that every single day, because like when things happen in life, when stuff breaks, no matter what it is, I feel like, even if I can't fix it, I can at least try. And if it's something that, I mean, there are edge cases, of course, that in which it's something that's like, yes, I don't know how to do brain surgery. I should go see a brain surgeon for a diagnosis on this, or like whatever. But there's certain things, yes, it's outside the scope of my expertise, and it's something where I should defer to expert opinions. And that's a nuance that I don't think my dad necessarily had, but not all the time. And so it was, for me, like, that's part of where I become myself in terms of my like identity and all this other stuff, is just really thinking about making sure that I'm doing things that are in line with what my dad would want me to be, and also who I am, because those don't always align either. And that's been a very challenging thing to navigate in terms of life after losing my dad. But I'm grateful for all the time that we've had together, and I wish there was more of it. And I wouldn't be who I am today without him. That's for sure. Like, I wouldn't have, like, I don't like comparing people. I don't like putting anyone down. But I'll just say, from what I've seen in others and what I see in myself, when I think about like who I am, I'm just very glad that I have the mindset that my dad gave me in terms of, be creative. Like, there might be a better solution, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't still try what you're gonna do. Given more context, of course, but it's like, don't be afraid to try new things and experiment and learn. And for me, that's something that really defines who I am, is that I want to grow, I want to learn, and I also love teaching and sharing with people like what I learn along my way, in case it helps them. I hope I can help people. Like, that's part of the ways in which I help others, is I try to share what I've learned from my mistakes. And so, that's really the focus of what I take away from the time that I've had with my dad, and the absence of my dad in my life, because I love him. I miss him so much. It's hard for me to not be able to share moments in life today without him. And so it's, that defines who I am today too. Like, I miss him a lot. And, I can't say this with complete confidence, but like, I'm pretty sure he would be proud of who I am. We never really had a chance to talk like that when he was still with me or with us. And so it was hard, but, it's hard to lose someone. And, at any age, I was 22 when it happened. And it was so fast and scary, and it gave me anxiety and PTSD and other things, and those shape who I am today too. So it's a lot of stuff, but, in terms of who I am now, in large part because of my dad, or, the early experiences I've had with him, is that like, I want to be doing things where I get to be creative, and I have to learn, and I have to experiment, and I have to challenge myself, and I have to take ownership of things, and be able to like justify things to people. Like, it's, this is something I challenge myself to do, is to be able to receive feedback. 'Cause that's something I think my dad didn't really do that well, is to just, I might think I've got the right or the best solution to something, and I could very well be wrong, and to just acknowledge the fact that I could very well be wrong, and that there's someone else out there who probably has a better or more efficient or simpler solution than I have. I should listen to them, and I should make good efforts to truly listen to people. And that's something I push myself to do, and to also just, like, part of the reason why I think creativity, like, my dad's probably one of the most creative people I know. It requires a certain degree of intransigence, in the sense that you have to be stubborn enough to think that you know better, to try something different. Because, what I'm learning as an adult is that, like, there's a lot of convention and norms and traditions in society, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best way of doing things. And you have to think that something that's better, and you have to have enough confidence to do it that way. And so it's that's a huge part of what my dad taught me, is that, like, you know, people will call you an idiot and they will say you're wrong, and you will have pushback along the way. And you very well may fail too. Like, it's not always guaranteed success just because you're doing something a different way. Like, you have to have ways of measuring what you're doing and justifying why it's more effective or better at a particular situation than some other approach. But you know, I really appreciate that my dad gave that to me, and he means so much to me. And yeah. So, for the sake of brevity, I just wanted to share this with you guys. I hope everyone out there is doing well, and I will talk to you guys next time.